Hello, gang. Welcome to Sketching with Izzy. How y'all doing today? Can see a blank canvas up here. Don't know what we're gonna paint yet. We'll figure it out as we go along. It'll be good fun. Avid, howdy. Glad you could join, bruv. Chris, hey. Welcome. All right, let's figure out what are we gonna paint today. I don't know. Probably have a relatively short session, just a couple of hours today, but we'll see how it plays out. Might find something that hooks me. But I just downloaded Escape from Tarkov, so I'm eager to get started on that. Try it out. My buddy ADSR Thug on here convinced me to give it a shot. So we'll see. It looks really hard, but I'll give it a shot. Something to do before things start getting crazy for me. Don't know what I'm doing here. Just making colors. I do like to do this with something that's gonna give me color variance and texture. This one has texture but no color variance. That'll do. How's your week starting out, everybody? It just said you subscribed? How random. Huh. Dimbiat. Hi. Welcome. Got some barbecue pork in the pressure cooker. Ooh, nice. That sounds awesome. I had a mega keto dinner last night. It was just like bacon and sausage. I was like, that was it. It were good. It is a fine day indeed. Ding dong, the witch is dead. No complaints there from me on that one. I didn't actually watch the inauguration. I had meetings all day. Meetings and I'm trying to crunch on finishing up this style guide for the game I'm on right now. So it's been a busy day for me. But I did catch the poet laureate. I caught her poem. It was good. Oh yeah, definitely. People are coming out of this with some PTSD. It was, Jesus, what a shit show. Hmm. Funderwunk, I have no idea what I'm drawing yet. Appears to be some kind of head. I don't know why or for what. I am just kind of sketching out shapes right now. I did know that the only plan I had was I kind of wanted to do kind of a pink and cool color combination. Beyond that, I have no idea. Diverse government, yeah. No, it's promising. It's a promising start. Hopefully, it won't just be like woke, more of the same. I'm going to try and reserve my cynicism for as long as I can, and then we'll see what they do with it. We'll see what they do with it. I will give them a chance. Dan Rob, howdy, howdy. I don't know why I like these colors, this kind of like muted pink and purple together. It's a pretty cool look. Certainly drawing a figure. Don't know what they're doing or why. We'll figure it out. It'll present itself eventually. I'm a big fan of just following the lead of wherever the drawing's going to go and then figuring out the story on the fly. That's a pretty fun way of doing things, I think. You do have that worry too, because it does feel like more of the same, but at least it's not fascism. I agree. I mean, honestly, if they get rid of the electoral college and start ranked voting, that would be a significant change that could prevent. Basically, the most important thing right now is that they just need to prevent something like that happening again. So, we'll figure it out. Am I doing this with a mouse, or a tablet and a pen? I am using a stylus, and a tablet. This is on an Intuos Pro Small, the 2017 or 2016 version, something like that. So it's an older one. It's nothing special about it. Just is. This little slate works. Let's go ahead and start digging in some darks, I think. Let's Make a new layer. Sometimes it's fun to paint the positive shape, and sometimes it's fun to paint the negative shape. And for today, we are doing the negative shape, it looks like. So I'm defining the positive shape by outlining the negative shape. You cannot have a positive shape without a negative shape. They form a symbiotic system. You must know this. Do I feel my mind is wanting to get this out subconsciously? Not necessarily. Basically, what I'm doing when I come up with ideas in this format is I'm not looking to problem solve anything in particular. So instead of looking for solutions or, you know, kind of just following the brain, what I'm doing is just shape making, if that makes sense. So I'm just generating shapes, you know, with the lines and seeing if it's like looking into clouds, you know, that's all it is at this stage. It's also why this is all on a separate layer right now, is because I may not like anything I'm doing just yet. Rank choice definitely is great. Dan Rob, there cannot be a light side without a dark side. That's true. I suppose so. Adelheid, hi, welcome. Max Ankar, hey buddy. How you doing? Good to see you on today. I don't know what I'm drawing. It looks like it's a figure in a pool. I have no idea what the intent is here. I'm just going with it. Having a little fun. Mitch and Art, how's it going? Welcome. Hopefully your day is also going great. Or how many of you are still at work right now? Imagine Max is. Some of you that are out of country, perhaps. Looks like a guy playing the flute. I can kind of see that. Working. Nice, nice. Hammy conned me into picking up a copy of Escape from Tarkov. Somebody playing that tonight. Give that a shot. I am looking forward to it. Definitely getting burnt out on Call of Duty these days. I want to blue, 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 blue. Personal Project 7, Crisis Time. Nice. Let's go to an easy brush to manage. Something that's not quite so chunky. You're working, but only because your laptop crapped on you for 3 hours today? Oh, that sucks. Nothing like surprise extra work because the machine's not behaving. What I'm doing right now is I'm kind of imagining and experimenting with different light sources just in scribble format. And the light sources are being dictated right now by the kind of possible narrative that's going on here. I'm still not sure exactly what it is, but it's kind of fun following the images lead. I think it's kind of like how, you know, writers describe like the characters wrote the story. You know, they didn't know what the character was going to do. It's kind of like that. It's just kind of going to be a fun, interesting experiment in color and light. And I'm just trusting the brain to come up with something interesting. We'll see. Okay, let's pick a new layer. Since we're not really doing concept art style, like silhouetting and carving things out, we're just gonna start painting opaque on top of everything. I don't know what's gonna happen. This is the fun surprise. I love playing with light and trying to come up with interesting ways for it to be represented. I was watching I think it was an anime or just a straight animation or something like that on Netflix recently, and I just remembered that they did this scene. I think it was Dragon Prince. Yeah. And they did a shot where like the characters are walking around in the rain, and to kind of imply that the rain was hitting them, they just created this sort of soft halo around the figure that was like a grayish color. So I think I want to see how that might work. Like, how can we imply rain here using that same kind of little trick of light where all of these particulates that are hitting the surface are bouncing off of that surface and in close proximity to that surface, and then picking up a little bit of light themselves. So it's going to create this halo effect all around my figure. And how can we hint at that with like the minimum amount of effort? Because that's what makes I think that's what makes like really good paintings that kind of jump out to you, is like there's this simpleness to them where it looks like obviously this is what it would become, and then so little effort was involved in making this thing, but somehow it's complicated and interesting. I love paintings like that. There's a few painters online that I really adore, and their traditional work is, it's like what I'm talking about. Like they just make these amazing chonky ass paintings that just feel like the canvas was always like that. And there's clearly like this sketchiness and raw element that I just adore. I love, love, love it. What are my thoughts on failing on something and then getting yourself back up? Art related. You think you screwed up enough and bricks just keep coming? Felicia Forte. I don't know who Felicia Forte is, unless that's an artist you're talking about in relation to what I was just saying about chonky arts. If so, then yeah. What are my thoughts on failing? Well, I don't really see failing as like as a singular state. It's pretty much just, it's a constant. Like I think the ideal situation to be in is to be in regular states of experimentation and failure, because then those mistakes can guide you and teach you tons of stuff in regard to art. If we're talking about success and failure in relation to work, like being paid for it, that's a different matter. But hopefully you can treat the experience like you do failure with painting. Like we were talking about the other day about life as play and play as life. Like if you're just having fun making things and you get paid for it and you're just enjoying the time you have on the planet, then it's not really a failure. It's time well spent, right? So I think the way I consider a lot of this stuff is in regard to definition. Like, how do you define success? How do you find failure? And that shifting in perspective can always be the thing that totally changes your experience. The perspective, the perspective that you're aligned to can define your experience significantly. I mean, even things that you would consider objective, experientially, you can kind of toy with that and push it around in your head. This can be used for good and for evil, of course, but it's one of those amazing abilities that humans have. Yeah, for chunky arts, I'm thinking Dan Lariva is great. Or is it Dan? All I know is his last name's Lariva, for sure. Because he's one of the few traditional artists. I actually bought one of his paintings way back when, before I ever moved onto the boat. I still have it, actually. It's at Peter Hahn's house. But he's an amazing painter, and he does these great chunky ass paintings that just look almost like he just accidentally arrived at perfection. It's great. Jenny Seville, she's a genius. There's some sculptors too. There's one in particular I'm thinking of. Her name is Wendy something. And she sculpts these really amazing animals that have a chunkiness that in a weird way, like it has that kind of unfinished, accidentally arrived, but it's perfect quality. But at the same time, that gives them movement, which is kind of cool. And something I try to, when I'm doing this kind of painting, I try to imbue it with that approach like she has mastered. God, I'm so bad with names. It's embarrassing. Have I seen Nicholas Uribe? No, I haven't. For sure, post that in the Discord if you get a chance. I'd love to check him out. Doesn't make sense because the light source isn't really going to create much there. Same with the last bit I did. Instead, let's focus on some ambient occlusion. Oops. I think this is the time when texture brushes can be the most fun because you get away with implying structures or details with no real effort. It's just kind of the calligraphy of it, of the thing. Hmm. Adelheid, me too. I'm a big fan of paintings that do that, like really chunky. I think Jenny Seville was one of the artists I mentioned. She's really great at that. Like she does these amazing, big, chunky, lots of color and variation. And then it kind of comes down to these like really nice calligraphic lines that will lead you to these incredibly detailed and rendered out faces or body parts. Just so good. To add modified question, and if it's like black. Oh, I missed the question to start. Sorry. When you paint over a fully realized value painting and just adding colors, how do you do it more like a glaze without having the colors be wonky? Like they're wonky in color mode. Meaning that the colors don't match up with the values that you've chosen? Oh, you want to add that? The problem is that when you colorize, it's changing the values of things. Oh, that is a tough one. Colorizing will always change the values of stuff. One of the things that you can do to bypass that is to try the gradient map technique. So you can include colors, but they will change your values too if you're not careful. Actually, they can very easily change your values. What they do is they maintain value relationships. One thing you can do is colorize, but set the colorize, I think. What can you do here? If I remember right, there's some setting. What was it? Oh no, that's an adjustment layer, or not an adjustment layer, that's a layer adjustment thing. Yeah, basically, I think the way I try to treat it is I'll pick colors that will be medium low in saturation, and I'll try to make sure that I'm not pushing the brightness on it one way or another too much. You're not going to be honest, it's not going to shift it so much that it's completely unpaintable on top, but it will definitely do it. Um, what I try to do, if I'm having issues with that, then I try to lean into it and use colorization simultaneous to altering my values. So that's where like glazes and tints come in. So if I wanted to, let's say tint, we can do a screen. I'll pick a really, really dark color, and then I would actually paint with that dark color and use the color that it's adding simultaneous to doing a bit of a value shift. Does that make sense? So it's about wrangling the materials that you have available at the time. That's one way. But yeah, if you try to do a colorize, so we'll turn on our proof colors. Come on now. Hello. There we go. See that? I don't know. It might be very, very a little too subtle for you guys to see, but you can see that what Cypher's talking about is happening there. Just by colorizing with a different color, it's changing the local values just a little bit. If you go light, it changes it pretty significantly. You see? So it's a trade-off. It's tough. I generally assume that it's going to happen and know that it's going to happen. So the colors that I pick, I actively try to make sure won't fuck with my values too much. It's some back and forth. It's just knowledge also. So there's not really a short and easy answer for that one. It's going to be experimentation, and it will make sense to you after a little while. Start with earthy colors, colorful grays, yeah. There is a workaround, but I cannot for the life of me think of what it is right now. Um, I am very much spacing on it. One of the ways that I deal with it also is that I'll do the colorization. Never save colorize layer for a painting that you have finished to like 90% or something like that, because you're going to have to fight the values. What you want to do is when you're going to add color, I recommend doing it at like the 60-70% mark, so that when you are still painting on top of that, you can fix any issues that you run into as a result of the value shift. I like this brush, but it's so digital. I don't want digital right now. I want messy. This might be too dark for right here. What if we earn our pink here? I always like playing with liquids, because liquids do really strange stuff to light, and it's a fun challenge to try and figure out how to make it work. Yeah, hopefully you find that helpful, Cypher. So what I'm doing now is this is creating a sort of backlight that I can silhouette the figure out against. So there's this kind of element of like of almost chess-like thinking several moves ahead. Alex Sky, how's it going? Welcome. What are we painting today? I have no idea, but I'm having fun with it. I like how there's nothing clear really happening, but just by virtue of the colors and maybe a little bit of the facial expression, it already looks vaguely pornographic. This is a classic Izzy maneuver, I think. He looks like neighbor Wilson. Ah, I see. That is not a reference that I have heard in quite a long time. I did not even pick up on it. I thought you were talking about Tom Hanks earlier. Sometimes when you add stuff, it doesn't necessarily make it better. And I'm not feeling like these are actual improvements, so pulling them out for now. Sometimes the thing that's not working also is just basic essential proportions. I think my initial skull probably wasn't working quite right. So I'm trying to build it out. But also I'm trying not to do, just a pure hard edge anything, because this isn't that kind of concept painting. This is meant to feel rough and sketchy, like you would do an oil. I think for this halo rain effect, we're going to have to go pretty bright. This is why I like looking at a lot of different sources. So that animation that I saw that kind of inspired this little rainy effect, that's just not something that you would see all that much in paintings. But it makes perfect sense as a shortcut for animation because it's really easy to outline something. But what was cool about it is it gave it that, the illusion worked. It gave it that feel. I mean, it'll probably be some push and pull, like trying to figure out how much is too much and things like that. But I think there's some legitimacy there. It already kind of feels like that. You know what I mean? I got to remember to check my navigator because I'm so enthralled with the brush strokes that the read may not actually be working. So I have to constantly double check that just to make sure. Peeping the neighbors. Can I talk a bit about the brushes I've probably a million times you'd find interesting? Sure. That's not a problem at all. The brushes that I'm using are kind of the sort of standard brushes that most concept artists kind of pick up and collect over the years. A lot of the brushes that I've got here you will find in just about every concept artist's brush kit. I add and remove, like there's sort of the standard kit that goes around that's got like maybe 300 or 400 brushes in it. And then what I do is I just go through, and the ones that I use regularly I keep, and I just start carving ones out. I do have kind of a system here. There are palette organizers and things like that that you can find online. Anastasi is a good product. I use their Magic Picker palette. Ouch. Up here on the top right. I'm a big fan of the other products that they have. I just can't use them with Photoshop CS6 because I'm using an old school system. But they have managers for brushes. So what I do in lieu of that is I have these little in-between brushes, and then I have it organized basically on like regularly used brushes that are divided up between, good liners, good texture line, good chalk brushes, good brush texture brushes, calligraphic brushes, and that's kind of the breakdown. It's just there's a condensed version of my like regular ones right here, and then as each section continues, it's sort of like a focused version of whatever that is. So this would be like speckles and chalks. This would be more paint texture type stuff. Cloud brushes down here, rocky textures. So it's all varied things, but the ones that I tend to gravitate towards the vast majority of the time would be the brushes that look like traditional brushes, because I feel like you can get a lot of effects from them. In terms of like starting my starting plan always when I'm painting is to use the biggest brushes I can. So I like brushes that have a lot of good texture variance and interesting features, but at really large sizes. So and also this is weirdly important, but not something that you think about too much. But having brushes that are big, have a cool, fun texture, but also aren't like CPU hogs or RAM hogs that'll just destroy, Photoshop. There's nothing like doing a stroke and then waiting 20 minutes as it goes bloop, 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 and slowly renders it out. I hate that. So there's a lot of really beautiful brushes out there that make really, really unique marks, and they're great, but you can't use them on a large image like this. And that's another aspect to how I choose the brushes that I keep. So there's a lot of really fancy ass brushes out there that I think are just way too CPU heavy, and as a result I just avoid them or don't use them at all because they're unusable even on a gaming rig like I'm using right now, which should be able to handle just about anything. I can get really slow chug downs. No, it happens to everybody. There's things that you can do like up here in edit, preferences, performance. So if you manage your performance stuff pretty well, you can get around a lot of those problems, because any of the complex brushes will have 2 or 3 features and the more features that you add in the brush builder, the more complicated it gets. But if you manage your machine is using your RAM, make sure that you're using scratch disks. I am not using my big drive as a scratch disk for some reason. Make sure that you're using your GPU if you have one attached. Minimize the amount of history states. So 20 I think is the standard, but you can go less. You can do 10. It's a much more brutal way to do it, but it does work. Go through and play with those things, and they can help you get your brushes to behave a little bit better. What's the best brush that doesn't cause lag? This is probably one of the better ones. This one works really well in terms of looking like kind of a rough medium. It looks a little bit like like an acrylic flat or filbert, and I like it. It's a good one. It has its weaknesses. So this being kind of the max size, if you go much bigger, you can really see the underlying brush inside, the dual brush. And I don't like seeing that too much. So this is kind of a mid-range one. I've been playing with this one lately, and I really like this one. I love chunky, really opaque looking brushes that feel like gouache or oils. They tend to have the most sort of traditional feel to them because they're not having that really, really gentle opacity thing. It's the opacity and the hard, super smooth edges, I think, that make things look really, really digital. So something like this, where that kind of edge comes along, looks really digital to me. And something where you have this kind of opaque overlap, where you have sharp overlaps like that. I don't like that either. It has its place, and I use this is a brush also that I use all the time in illustration and in concept art, but it's for specific purposes. And I use them for specific purposes, but not in the way that generally intermediate artists and beginner artists think. A lot of people that are learning approach the brush thing like, oh, this is going to be my tree brush. This is going to be this will be my brush for grass. And while that does work for some things, ultimately I find that when you're using the same brush for grass all the time, it starts to really make your work look kind of digital and like there's not a lot of thought put into the rendering of those surfaces. You should be able to paint. Ideally, you want to be able to paint with any brush that you're given, and that's why it's kind of a joke to a lot of professional artists when they're asked like, "What brushes do you use?" That's kind of an ongoing joke. I'm sure many of you have heard it, and the irony is, of course, that we will use any brush that's in front of us. There is no brush that you're going to use that's going to just make painting good on its own. It's a combination of knowing what you're doing, knowing what to expect, and using that tool in the correct way. There's a lot of brushes that you can do that would give you that Jessica's Will type thing. So this is something that I would use maybe for trees, but this isn't a tree brush. But I would use this to create that effect. So there's lots of different brushes that you can get different effects with, and they can serve many different purposes. That's what I like, is like utilitarian brushes that can be used in a lot of different ways. The magical master's brush, yeah. A poor workman blames his tools. That is, I think, in some ways that's true. In other ways, not so much. Prime example is when I was in college and I was first learning to do traditional painting. The instructors were like, well, here we know that these materials are expensive, buy what you can afford, but we recommend that you buy the better tools. And when I first started out, I was like, oh, screw that. I'm just going to get the cheapest shit because why would I don't know what I'm doing. Why would I get good stuff? And I hit a wall really fast where I was struggling. The colors weren't good. The brushes weren't moving the colors around in a really excellent manner. And I learned really quick that, yeah, actually the materials do change the experience. It's not that it makes you a bad painter. It just makes it harder to do the simple stuff. So then I invested in some decent tools, and what a difference it made. Like in what the strokes looked like, what kinds of colors I could mix, the chalkiness of how colors would dry. Big difference. So that's partially true about blaming your tools being a poor workman. Sergio, welcome. I have no idea what the concept is today. We're just kind of painting. I'm playing with brushes, really. Nope, none of that is working. I hate everything I just did there. It happens. I'm trying to imply the complexity of this nose with really minimal brush strokes and a large brush, and it is difficult. Let me tell you. See that? That's that dual brush. I hate that. So we're switching brushes because I'm not getting the effect I want with this brush at this size. So let's see what else we got. This one I would say is probably too chalky because I'm trying to do like a wet brush look. Oops. That is not the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. This is a nice glazing type of brush. Oh shit! I forgot to turn down the damn volume again. Tiana Artist is raiding. Oh, thank you so much for that raid. Welcome. Every time I have a heart attack when that happens. Thief Savaku, thank you so much for joining. Hello, hello. We're doing a fun sort of texture brush experimentation painting. Having a good time here. How y'all doing? Did you just finish up, Tiana? Ah, good night. Thank you so much. Appreciate that follow. Y'all have to come by and check it out. Take care. Thanks for the raid. always a nice surprise when folks stop in. Steve Sawaku, thank you so much for that follow. Alvin, hi. Woohoo! Raid time. Let me push this just a touch. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sometimes you just get that color. Color makes me happy, people. I gotta tell you. I love painting this way because it makes me want to go paint traditional so bad. Like I want to go dig out my gouache or my acrylics. I've neglected the hell out of my acrylics. I haven't painted acrylics in ages. I think the last one I painted was for Max. Yeah, Max, you got a couple of Izzy originals, I think. Yeah, I definitely owe you guys another one pretty soon here. Yeah, for Kelly's birthday. The rubber ducky bee. You stopped using acrylics because they dried up in the tube. Oh, that's the worst. That's really frustrating. So I switched to a really sharp edge digital brush this time because I want to create a really high contrast little moment here, which is going to give me kind of an implied specular. The way I had it before, it felt kind of like the hair was falling out or something. And that's not what I'm after. What I'm trying to do is show very wet, heavy looking hair. Going right in to do some accent values, which is just basically ambient occlusion through line. It's a fancy way of saying drawing lines. But it's true. It's apropos. So if you can say something fancy and it be appropriate at the same time, you're doing it right, gang. For this, I definitely want a texture brush. Let's see. Yeah. You know what? I think we can just kind of obfuscate some of this jaw down here and let the reflected light happen in the face instead. Thieves, thanks for hanging out. Glad you could join us for a little bit. It's your birthday today. Hey, Sergio, happy birthday. Do I ship originals to Spain? I would, but I don't paint originals that often, so that I don't have any to ship, unfortunately, at the moment. This is something I'm inspired to remedy, though. This painting is definitely making me want to paint traditional original work. I'm quite enjoying it. I love just like, I don't know, brushy paintings, you know? They please me. Should probably not be swimming in the rain. I've heard that's a bad idea for reasons, but it is so very pretty. Hello, hello. Don't know what I'm working on. I don't know if I responded or not. Sorry. Probably not. I'm a little bit of a basket case today. Not for any particular reason. I'm just kind of feeling a little airheaded. Which is good, because when I'm doing this kind of thing, it's almost meditative. It's just kind of like slowly things are coming out of it. Think you'll spend your birthday working with the traditional pieces you have in progress? Awesome. Yeah, since it's COVID times, you might as well get something out of it, right? Did I start with some reference or is this all from imagination? I saw a picture that has colors that I like. I'll show you that. This, I don't know what it's from. It's an Instagram. Oh, I do know what it's from. It is Psyche Ophiuchus. Give them a follow because at some point I liked this post. This is something that I do. I have on my Dropbox, I have a folder that's called To Paint. And so whenever I see something, I just screenshot it and I throw it into that folder and forget about it. And then when I want to come up with ideas for painting, I will just flip through it really, really quickly. And anything that kind of just flashes into my brain as a result of that is what I go with. So this is technically the reference for this painting. I certainly don't recommend that you work this way. This is just kind of playtime silliness, you know. Don't use it as a model for how to work at all. I know that's a practice what I say, not what I do type of thing, but oh, you think so, Kova? Kova disagrees with my hypocrisy. She does not approve. We might finish this in a single session, gang. Turns out it's pretty quick to paint, just like a half a face. Oh, laziness. I love it. Ooh. Don't know what happened there. It's an interesting color. Looks like I had it in there already, so I'll just leave it in. Just got to find places to put it though, so that it's everywhere. Oh, hush. I've certainly painted this kind of painting before. I've done a few actual sort of like just sitting in the water like this. Max can attest to this. I love to just sit and float in the water. And I have absolutely fallen asleep doing exactly what this character is doing. Just laying in the water like this with my nose just above the surface. Merman. Oh, that's so good. Let's get some more of this in here. I'm really enjoying this color. And it's a little bit closer to my reference shot there. Just really rich. Yeah. Oh man, I love how that color's mixing. Green and purple, man. So good. One of the sort of side effects that's pretty fun about using a brushy brush like this is you can kind of get this blur effect. And if you use it artfully, you can kind of get away with doing this implied motion. Let's get real wild here for a second. I don't know why Photoshop's been doing that with me lately. It's just occasionally poop all over my color choices and ignore that I just did a color sample. Don't know why. Just having fun, making me cry. Okay, we were talking earlier about doing kind of a very tight sections. So we can do that for sure. Let's go ahead and grab something small and rendery. And let's just do some nice render scribbles. The trick with this kind of thing that we're doing right here, this little introduction of very high resolution style rendering onto something chunky, is to make sure that you're doing the same thing, just really, really small. That's kind of it. So I'm still being chunky, just in really, really tiny sizes. Start with a big brush. Always start big and move towards small. If I started doing this with this small brush at the very beginning, we would not be this close to finished at an hour and a half of painting. You see? Using a big brush kind of forces your hand, figuratively and literally. Yeah. Even though I'm using a smaller brush, I'm following the strokes of the bigger brushes, trying to obey the same kind of rules that I've established for myself so far. Gorgeous, lovely things can be golems too. Ermagerd. Hey, hey, welcome. Like in those textures, awesome. That was our goal here, was to play with some textures and do a fun little sketch. Thanks, Max. I'm glad you dig it. Should be getting my Oculus pretty soon here. Can't wait to play that with y'all. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, it's gonna be good. Thanks, Funder. Might be overdoing that one rhythm a little bit here. Let's ease back on that a touch. Save, save, save. Painting gives off a Miles Morales vibe. Nice. Well, the art director responsible for that, I think, started the look for Into the Spider-Verse. I don't think he finished the project, but he's really amazing. I love his work. So that's a hell of a compliment. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to a slightly bigger brush. Kind of using it as a glaze. $40,000. My goodness. What shall you do? I think I got to ease up on that, on the brights that I added just a touch. And instead, we're going to halo out further. All of those particulates picking up light. But not as bright. What I want here with this effect is to get a nice contrast with that bit of forehead hair. I tried to do it with a really bright, but that's not, it wasn't doing it. So instead of going for really bright, what I'm trying to do is a uniform lighter value overall, and then bringing the dark out in front of it more strongly. And I want to get that, I'm trying to get that plastered down feel to the hair when it's really saturated. Doing the Scrooge McDuck squint. Awesome. Thug Hammy. Welcome, bud. You're contributing to the escape plan. Thanks. Appreciate that sub, brother. How are you doing? Did you just get off work? You finished? Take me through the doom that is Tarkov. I can already see how I could just tell I'm going to be so mad at this game. Wrapping up. Nice. Well, I think we might actually be wrapping up in here too pretty soon. Weirdly, this piece just kind of came together and I like it chunky. So I don't think I'm going to take this one to like a really tight finish. I think we're going to do a one and done with this piece. And it's weird. Sometimes when you get a painting, you know, it just has the energy, the right time, the right place kind of deal, and it just comes together. So then The real trick is stopping before you're ruining it. And so that's where I'm at right now, is trying really hard not to ruin this, because I really like how it's come out. Now is your chance. It's true. You can poop all over it. As long as the result it's not rendered enough, I think we can probably manage with whatever the wheel of art direction poops out for us. No wheel of art direction today. Not today. Delacroix, thank you so much for that follow. Appreciate that. You're short of Z-bolts, Thug. Is that cruise around the world tier still there? Because I'm not on the boat anymore. It shouldn't exist anymore. Double check, see if I ever did it with that specular. I think I may have. It's a little over the top, a little too much. Wanted to look wet, not like our eyes are gummed shut from unknown substances. No, I think it's going to have to be more of a Ron Weasley cheekbone. Yeah, what do y'all think? Yeah. Mikey Likey. Nice. I love this color combination. It's like pastel-y gray-green with this magenta. It's just, it's sex. I love it. I will absolutely have to do this color palette again. I mean, I've done variations of this before, but this specific one, for some reason, is really grabbing me. Well, with that, I think we finished our painting. It's looking good. I can sense the hunger. Oh, you monsters. Izzy is pleased. Let us dash his dreams and make him cry. Oh. All right. No, but for real, I think we are. I am in very near danger of totally overdoing this. So. Yeah, I've been using the smoothing tool or the blending tool very minimally on this one. It's definitely been there, but not as much. When you know what color it would be? Oh yeah, of course. Done. It's almost done. Ugh. You're right. I'm sorry, I am totally pixel fucking. But there's just a couple more speculars. It's so, oh, come on now. Okay, all right. Okay, we're good. So I just got to decide which way are we going to face it. Is this one better or this one better? I kind of like the one where she's facing left to right. You like with her on the left, Max? All right, that's the one. This is the way. Hey, gang. Thanks so much for hanging out today. It was a fun, real quick one. They don't usually come out like that. That came out nice and smooth. That's like it's like when you get one of those visits to the toilet and the toilet paper turns up with nothing. It's a good day. It's a fine day, right? Thanks for the quickie, gang. Yeah. Well, for those of you that are new, let's go over this stuff real quick. I normally stream Mondays and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard, and on the weekends and Saturday, usually around noon, for Across the Pond folk. If you're interested in catching up on previous streams, I back up everything for now on YouTube. So you get over to YouTube, youtube.com/Izzy Medrano. Do the subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. Thanks for hanging out. It was a really good time. Yeah, I'll be on the Discord in a second. Hammy. Did I miss anybody? Awesome. Well, gang, thanks for hanging out. It was good painting. Lots and lots of fun. We'll catch you on Saturday, I believe. And we'll start a new one. It'll be great. So until then, as always, paint smart, paint sexy. I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work. Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster. As we grow into artists, we must learn to throw away symbols and begin to draw and paint what it is we actually see. And as we grow further, we learn to paint beyond what we see and what is actually there. Until finally we move beyond this and learn to trim away what is actually there so we voice only what we want. With me, you're going to have to buckle in and maybe take some pain meds, because I'm going to rip out your normal person's eyes and replace them with a painter's eyes. I'm going to restructure how you see and how you understand what you're seeing. I'm going to turn you into a painting machine. Truly, anyone can learn to paint realistically if they can both determine what they're seeing or imagining with basic and straightforward rules. Once you understand the mechanics of light, color, and form in reality, you will have the capacity to paint anything you can see or imagine realistically. After that, the real fun begins. Here are some of the ways you can join me and master the logic of light and color. The very first lesson of my series is totally free on my YouTube channel. In that lesson, I give you the 3 primary rules of light that are the